Outreach. I grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist. I actually had no choice. Mum and Dad were Seventh-day Adventists. My grandparents were Seventh-day Adventists. Outreach is part of our family. What does outreach mean? So if I look at the definition of outreach in the Seventh-day Adventist dictionary, which I just made up, Wikipedia says the following: outreach is an activity of providing services to any population who might not otherwise have access to services. A key component of outreach is that the groups providing are not stationary, but mobile. In other words, they are meeting those in need outside of their comfort zone. Or another definition: outreach, the extent and length of reaching out. The loving outreach of God to the world. We've all grown up with a definition of outreach. When I was 5 or 6, we lived in the Housing Commission flats in Collingwood, which is why I'm proud and paid up member of the Mighty Magpies. And even though we now have a women's team, we still can't muster a win. But we used to walk the Housing Commission blocks from level 1 to level 21. And Melissa will be nodding her head because her grandfather would do the other block. And my grandfather didn't speak great English, and I would do, as a 6-year-old, the translating, and he would be the authentication device to say this kid's not collecting money for sweets. And we would knock on hundreds of doors, and we would get a bag full of money, coins, and that would serve a purpose for ADRA. And not many people really like doing it, but we kind of enjoyed doing it. And that was our form of outreach. Today, outreach is a lot more sophisticated. If I want to talk to my son, my best method of getting his attention is to Snapchat him. And he's probably doing that now. And if I asked him to read the text, you'll have to minimise your Snapchat and find the Bible verse that I'm about to ask you to read that you will be petrified to read. But outreach is not how it used to be. If you want to sell something today, you've got a greater chance to sell it online than you do in store. Just ask brands like Pumpkin Patch, Marks, Sportscraft, David Lawrence, who are shutting their doors. Yet, there's still a simple need. People need other people. And there's a thing called the Great Commission. And it goes like this: Matthew 28, verses 16 to 20. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." And then there's an important word. What's that word? Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. How are we going against that Great Commission? Is that the responsibility of the outreach team at Burwood? Or is that the responsibility of us as individuals? We've had many workshops at church. We've had workshops with the leadership team. We've had workshops with the elders. And we've decided the following. We are not going to reinvent the wheel and run another mission program, run another prophecy program. We actually have a vibrant mission program. It's called church. It happens 52 times a year, and it happens between 9:30 and 12:30, thereabouts, most Saturdays. So we're going to design our church program to meet the needs of the community. And we want you to be proud of it so that you can bring people to church. Our community is broader than Burwood or the city of Monash. I live about 5 kilometres from Burwood. Who actually lives in the area of Burwood? We've got 5 people live in the area of Burwood. So that beckons the following question. Who are our neighbours? Who lives in the Mornington Peninsula? 1. Who lives in Geelong? 1. Who lives in the Courtney Belt, Blackburn? That whole side, no? But our community isn't actually defined by our suburb. Our neighbours aren't defined by our suburbs. Your neighbours are the people you work with, the people you live next to. That is our community. If outreach is going to be measured by a recruitment program and the number of seats we fill, then we'll fail. Outreach is about living a daily life of making a difference to someone. We want our church to be identified by its relationships, so that when people walk into this community, into this church, they feel a sense of belonging. Relationships are critical. I have the privilege and the pain of being on a plane at least on a monthly basis for about 9 hours. We have a business in China, so we're busy flying back and forth to China. And this last week I was in China and I was sitting with my business partner and we were deciding what video to watch. And there was the Church of Scientology and there was Batman and so forth. And Jeremy's office is actually next door. He's now moved to Scoresby, but he always sees my car here on a Saturday and he's always inquisitive on Monday, what am I doing in this office building? And I thought, let's watch the Church of Scientology. So it's this documentary about the church. And it's actually quite scary because by the time you get to the end, none of us could actually partake because the entry fee is about $55,000. So the first program for you to enter into the Church of Scientology requires you to spend $55,000 and you get a kit, and that kit is your first set of programs. And then you buy your next program. So it'll cost you about $2 million to get to the highest level in the Church of Scientology. And they control some of the most amazing pieces of real estate and media and organisations in the world. And it was a 2.5 hour documentary that was quite gripping. But what was more gripping was that for the next week, Jeremy's interest in church and how it works and community and all of this was really heightened. And we still talk about it a week later. I can't convert Jeremy to come to Burwood, but we've actually planted a seed and he's asking questions. And each one of you have that opportunity. Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Did you know that giving releases serotonin? I'm not a doctor, so Wayne, feel free to chime in. Serotonin releases endorphins, which are 3 times more effective than morphine, so you won't go to jail. That releases a thing called happiness. People who give, it's been proven, are 42% more happy than those who don't. It doesn't take much to give, and it doesn't actually take much to outreach. I think we've made it complex, and we have depersonalised it and made it corporate. Programs have a place and they're important. Bible studies have a place and they're important. Prophecy has a place. But building a relationship with your neighbour, your colleague, your friend, fulfilling a need is genuine. So just in summary from me, outreach is something we can all do. Yes, we can have organised church events, but personal ministry as an outreach program is something that we can all engage in.